he just said, dude, she's gorgeous. My gosh. Okay,
Aw.
DMing her.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So Jenn just got to Austin and she already has like potential
I hope so. I
is
hope
what
so.
You're saying.
I'm trying.
I
I'm over
know.
here setting you up right
Thank
now.
you.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a boo, I got a DM about you already.
You know, I'm gonna ride it out with my boo, but I'm telling you,
Ride it out with your boo. I like that.
I'm gonna hook
supportive.
you up.
Thank you.
I feel like we're like the dynamic trio. Like you didn't
Couple.
know.
Yeah,
I
like
enjoy
you
this
did.
a lot.
I do too.
I know. I feel
I
like
just need dating experience legit. I just need to like
I
go on
promise
dates
you,
and
I'm like
stuff.
having to respond to this guy. He's like going hard in the paint right now.
Ooh, I love it. We love a little anxious attachment.
that's kind of
Usually
nice.
it's just me.
Kind of like the ego feed, you know, which makes you feel good sometimes.
But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is everyone is like, oh, you're so fucking hot if I give them my Instagram and then nothing comes from it. And I'm like, I genuinely want to date. Like, ask me out.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. We could talk about that. I don't get it.
We were talking about this yesterday. So, first of all, welcome to the lobby.
Yay.
Jenn. We have Jenn Crowshaw in our
Hi.
lobby. She is a fellow podcaster. She has her own podcast, the Genn Z podcast.
Yes.
Which I literally love the name.
It's because I'm a delusional MILF and I just...
That's funny.
I resonate, you know, as a Gen Zer, but I'm a millennial. I don't know. My birth certificate is bullshit, but yeah.
So do you feel like you're aging like Benjamin Button, or
Like 100%.
Okay,
but,
got it.
But do you know what it is? There's a couple of things, and I don't mean to be like, I grew up kind of ugly. So it gave me a really good personality.
I was for sure the ugly duckling.
It's the best place to be because when you and then living more authentically into my purpose and who I am has really changed my aura and my look. I don't look like how I was, but it's because I'm living authentically finally. You look back at pictures and it's crazy.
I have like two comments on that because there's two things that I've experienced that are kind of directly connected to it. One, never got my eyebrows done until I was like 27.
Was it life changing?
I looked back at pictures. I was like, none of you were my friends before. My eyebrows were horrid.
Yeah.
Horrid.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. But then the other is, honestly, I had terrible acne in high school. And I thought it was
So hard.
the worst experience when I was younger. And I use it as like a perspective change because it was actually the most it was like the healthiest thing for me because I was able to really see the people that were there for me to actually be a friend, to actually be in my life, versus people that wanted me to be there to benefit their party, to benefit a moment of like having the hot guys around them, or whatever the case was, right?
Totally.
And I really got to see through people, and I think it helped me to create this like internal compass of deciding like who's healthy for me and who's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's something really beautiful about being a late bloomer anyway.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I love about you is because you do have such a young energy to you and you're so
amazing
beautiful.
Yes.
You look so
it's young energy, but it's the weirdest thing. And I'm friends with all the so I'm a hairstylist in Las Vegas. I also have a podcast that I try to do out in Austin, but at the salon, I don't resonate with the girls that are my age.
Yeah.
I am that way. So I have the wisdom of like living that long, but like I'm not. Like I'm with the young girls. And it's just cute. We like call each other age gap couples. Like, and I just hang out with them and no one would even know. But it is a little weird when like the younger, like I do like younger guys, but when the really young ones come up, I'm like, ooh, these are your girls.
Yeah.
But I know I look a certain way, but I'm not. I'm a little too old for you, my boy.
No, it's tough. Like you may get caught up with the right one. You know.
Maybe I'm hoping.
Well, we just watched Jenn get really excited because we always say that we keep our podcast pretty Austin based.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're like kind of like dipping your toes in Austin.
Yeah.
And
You're our
Roger.
first.
Yeah. Roger and I were laughing because we brought you into the collective gym here to podcast with us.
Yep.
It's a lot of hot, attractive men.
ridiculous.
And I don't even pay attention because I'm so used to being here. But I'm like, this is new. This is like Jenn's new playground.
Yeah,
I can't even
that's funny.
focus.
That's true.
I don't know why does Austin have so many beautiful people and so many hot guys?
The craziest thing is I look like y'all's bouncer. Like we walk
You're
in
a
here,
good looking dude,
and
Roger.
everyone's looking at me like,
everyone-
why are you with them? I'm like, hey.
No. We already took Jenn. We went to dinner with Jenn and we took her to what's that burger spot?
I always fucking
Not a damn
not a
chance.
damn chance.
Okay.
I always say can I have a not a goddamn chance burger? They
Ooh, I
look at me like,
they're like, what? Best burger of my life, no joke.
yeah,
Thank
it's
you for
good.
taking me.
It's really
It was
good.
incredible.
So good. We were talking about that this morning too. I'm like, I want another one.
Oh my gosh, it was.
I think it's
worth the hype.
Is it Michelin star?
Yeah, the Michelin
I'm not sure. That's what you guys
star chef.
Yeah.
And his like friend who was a skateboarder like came together.
They prepped this burger for like 2 years.
Stop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Genuinely.
Yeah. Incredible.
And I mean, I feel like we were all getting hit on when we were together last night. It's like there's so many like beautiful
there's just more opportunity. I don't know. Listen, I grew up in Vegas and I was born in Seattle, but I was raised in Vegas since I was 9.
Where in Seattle?
Federal Way area.
Okay, so I actually do know Seattle pretty well.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Every time I say Federal Way, everyone's like, "Oh."
This hat is actually a Seattle
hat. Shut up.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Is it ghetto?" And apparently, where I grew up was ghetto, but I didn't know.
Not.
Whatever.
No, it's just
Federal Way. It's like, eh.
Yeah.
Anyways, I grew up going to like Mariners spring training, and like I actually. I don't want to be offensive. I gave big lesbian vibes for a while. Growing up, I played softball competitively.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was going to play softball in college. And then I broke my dad's heart. And I was like, listen.
What position?
Pitcher.
Oh, my sister was a pitcher.
Yeah. So.
My sister did turn out to be gay.
Really? Yeah. No, stop it. Stop it.
Like, I'm shocked that you're saying that you were like a tomboy
totally.
Like, playing sports because you're such like the epitome of a girly girl.
I know. I look really feminine, but no.
That's my sister, though. My sister's such a girly girl.
Yeah. I think I probably went like the complete, like I went way on the other because I wasn't, my dad played college baseball. I was his oldest. I don't think I really had the opportunity to even choose really. Cause I definitely have the personality of like a cheerleader and a dancer.
Yeah.
But I also I was actually really good at softball.
You came out, he probably gave you like a mitt and a ball.
Absolutely. Yeah. There was like no choice. Like I was playing softball, and I was good at it. But by the time I was like, listen, bro. Like, I would like to be a girl. Yeah. And I wondered why I didn't have a boyfriend. And I was like,
So then
I look back, I get it.
Did you finish high school in Seattle?
No, so I moved to Vegas when I was 9.
Okay.
My dad moved for a job. Yeah. So I was raised in Vegas.
Okay.
That's like such an interesting place.
People have a really weird perception of Vegas.
Yeah.
It's actually so interesting. So it's very like clubby party on the strip, and then outside of it it's like crazy suburbia.
Wow.
It's really hard to be single in Las Vegas because I have 2 kids, and
you would never know.
Yeah.
I'm a mom, but I like to be referred as a MILF. And yeah, so I live in the suburbs, which is amazing, but it's like very family oriented. You'd be shocked. Like it's like really like chill, low-key, boring.
So go ahead.
I was so confused too because we were talking about religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were involved like so heavily in your religion in Vegas. Which I think would be shocking to some.
Yeah, some people probably assume there is no religion in Vegas.
Yeah, you would think there are a ton of. I grew up Mormon. There are tons of Mormons in Las Vegas.
That's crazy.
But yeah, Christianity. There are tons of religions. I know. People get this perception of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And it's like that downtown, but it's not. It's super family oriented.
I think it's the same thing as like New York. I'm from New York. Everyone thinks I'm from like one particular place that they understand New York as, and it's like, yes, I may have been born there, but no, like there's so many other places to be raised. And same thing with Texas. Like everyone thinks there's cattle everywhere. Yeah. And now you may run into it, but it's not on every single street corner. Yeah. Like it's just what you may have set up in your mind as an epitome of a certain place. It's just not that.
I know. It's so weird, like the misconceptions we can't even have about places. Because when I start thinking about Vegas and you're talking about suburbs and you're talking about Mormon religion,
you're like, what? I know.
I start thinking about that show Sister Wives.
Yeah, and they were in Vegas for a while. Wow. They were in Vegas. Yeah.
That's good.
That's wild. Good. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's my connotation with it, though.
Well, yeah, I think it originated with polygamy, and then like the mainstream Mormon church obviously stopped a long time ago. But
that's so good.
Do you know why they were in Vegas? Is it something with
they were persecuted in the east, and so they all went west and settled west. Okay. So that's why you're going to see a lot of Utah is like the home base, but tons in Nevada, lots in California. They just migrated west.
And then isn't there a lot of Hawaiians in Vegas?
Okay, yeah, and there's a lot of Mormon. Hawaiians are Mormon.
Yeah. Okay.
So they call it.
I'm glad you can connect this.
Yeah, they call it the 9th island, I believe. Don't quote me on it. It's either the 7th island or the 9th island.
Sure.
I think it's the 9th island. But yeah, Vegas, tons of Polynesians. It's
Vegas
awesome.
is like their New York City.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Totally.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, that's amazing.
Lots of Polynesians. Yeah.
Yeah, you were married
for a long time.
It still so like throws my mind that you have like 2 kids.
I know.
Can't believe
and
it.
we're
I don't
married.
buy it.
I know.
I think you're lying
You've
every
lived
second.
this whole life.
I know. I feel like I'm in like 2 different timelines, really, which is, it's just weird. Yeah. So I got married really young. I grew up super conservative.
How'd y'all meet?
Church.
Got it.
Yeah. And we followed the religion and got married. We saved ourselves for marriage, which, I mean, it was great for then. I will never do that again.
Gotta ride that boat.
I mean, luckily it worked out. I do think it's insane though to make a lifelong commitment without doing that. But luckily it worked out for me. But I mean, I know a lot of people who it doesn't, you know. I got married super young. I was with him since I was 20, and we got divorced. We were married for 14 years. And yeah, I mean, we're still good friends. We both left our religion together, so we did that before. It's funny because growing up in the Mormon church, they kind of tell you like if you leave, you lose everything. Yeah. And what ended up happening is we did leave, and what it looks like to the outside is we did lose everything, I guess. We got divorced. So much more. But I was talking to my ex about it, and he's like, there's a reason for that, is because when you deconstruct, you realize like this isn't for you anymore, and things fall apart. What looks on the outside, things are falling apart, but really you're living in authenticity and shedding it. So it's funny, like, we kind of proved them right-ish, but it's been hard for a couple of years, but I'm thriving, and I want people to know that like you can absolutely be happy and live a really fulfilled life and not have to be a part of that. Wow. Everyone can live different lives, but I think there's a little bit of like internal pressure maybe that I feel like I kind of proved them right-ish from the outside perspective, but it's important to me to be successful and to be in authenticity and to live fully so that people can see like that's not the case. You've been lied to.
Right.
And then is your definition of success with someone or alone?
Right now, my current journey is I want to cultivate such a healthy relationship with myself because I never had that. I mean, I went straight from my parents' house to literally getting married.
That's kind of where my question comes from. Like, exactly.
Yeah. And so it's been really lonely to be on my own, scary, but I know that my mission right now is I need to be so okay with being alone. And I've kicked and screamed. It's not easy. Sure. It's not easy. Sure. But to be so healthy alone. I mean, I want to get remarried. I'm not even opposed to having another kid. If I'm going to be, I mean, the funny joke would be, like I all my little friends at the salon are like the young 20s, like we'll probably all get pregnant together and I'll be like old, like 42-year-old, I mean, that's probably how it's going to happen, but I'm totally open to having another baby. I kind of want someone who doesn't have kids, and I'd rather give him a child. Sure. But I really do want to get remarried and I want to have kids. But I don't know where we were going with that.
Well, it's to define that version of success, right? It's like
success looks like to me is living just so authentically. Like if you look back at pictures, I was unhappy because I've always been who I am. I'm wild. I'm a free spirit. I have this like radiant energy. I'm a rebel. Like
you really do have radiant energy.
Thank you. I was put in a family that I always thought differently, and it wasn't really accepted, and that's okay. You look back at pictures and I look different, and it's because I'm living authentically. So success looks like, I want to be successful in my career, but I ultimately just want to be happy.
Yeah. And I was talking to you about this earlier too, is like, what did your marriage kind of look like? Was it more like a traditional marriage, or was he like the provider, protector? Yeah. Like, I know one thing I asked you is like, were you like a Pilates housewife? Were you still working? Sure. Like, what did that situation look like? Because you and I are always having these conversations. Totally. Like, we're out here grinding, working, crying ourselves to sleep sometimes.
We're so in our masculine.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that, actually. No, I've never been a housewife. So because I grew up so conservatively, I was raised like women kind of stay home, they raise the kids. Sure. And I have always felt different, and I'm a natural rebel by heart. So I was like, fuck you. Yeah. You're not going to tell me what to do. I'm never going to stay home with my kids. I want to be a mom, and I'm going to be a good mom, but you can't tell me because I'm a woman that I need to stay home, right?
Absolutely.
So I went a little too far on the boss bitch side. Okay? And I hustled. I've always worked. Yeah. I'm a little tired now. Yeah. I'm a little tired now. And I think the traditional marriage, always monogamous. I I'm a monogamy girl, but I would say that we both worked. I've always worked. He provided for a long time. I was building so this is interesting. I went to hair school right after high school. I worked at Caesar's Palace on the Strip, this crazy hair salon. And I got anxiety and I was like, I hate hair. I hate this. And I quit hair for like 7 years. And I went like back to school for like a paralegal degree, like so freaking random. Yeah. And then I was like, one day I was like, I'm too fun to be in a cubicle. Like this is weird. So I went back to doing hair and I just realized I do love hair. It was just,
I feel like you could make anything fun.
Yeah.
Just to be fair.
Right, it was, but the cubicle is not my place. I was just like, eh. But, when I got back into hair, I barely made any money. And he was like, I got you, I'll provide,
Sure.
And then it ended up I became the breadwinner. And the interesting thing is the roles started becoming reversed. And I think that ultimately led to kind of the demise of my marriage. There's lots of things, but our roles were reversed and it was a weird dynamic. I would also say when we got married, we kind of trauma bonded. We were so young.
Yeah.
I needed someone to save me. I didn't really have emotional safety where I grew up.
Sure.
Obviously they're a great family. They provided for me financially, but I've always been different. I did not have emotional safety. And so I desperately needed someone to save me. And he came in, we both had trauma. We bonded, he saved me. And then eventually I realized I don't want to be saved anymore. And I don't think he wanted to save, like we both kind of got to this point where we were like, holy shit, we were so young. Now we're both healing, but we're healing on different trajectories.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I don't want to be saved anymore, but it's extremely uncomfortable because I leaned on him so much to, I went from my parents to him. And then, once I started healing and some of the childhood stuff, I was like, I need to do things on my own. And we both just sat down. It was a very healthy, like nobody did anything bad. Sure. We sat down and we had some really hard conversations.
You sound healthy now, even on the back end.
We're really good friends. Yeah. It just was that we sat down and we had really hard conversations. And when we were both starting to heal, we realized, one, we trauma bonded when we were little. We're not the same people that we were. How can we make this work? And ultimately we decided, I think we need to let ourselves go to grow. And I didn't think that we both thought that we couldn't achieve the growth that we needed together.
Wow.
For me, I needed to be alone and I needed to be my own savior and my own safety and not rely on anybody. And for him, he didn't need to be saving someone. He needs to save himself.
Sure.
It was really painful to just have that realization. Like nobody did anything bad. Like it just was at that point where we're like, we've grown apart. We were babies. We're healed now. We're on our path to healing. I think we need to let ourselves go. And we kind of stepped away and we said, let's do the work and grow. And if we get back together, cool. But honestly, I don't see it like that at all. I think our energies are just so different. We're really good friends, but it's never going to go that way again.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I came into this episode wanting to ask you like so many questions about like why the marriage ended and was there like fighting happening, like infidelity, but just the way that you talk about your ex, because we say this all the time, the way that you talk about your ex says a lot about you as a person.
It's really important for me. I mean, there have been times where I've been extremely frustrated with him post-divorce. Sure. Financially, like I am on my own. Yeah. So I think I don't want people to get it twisted. Like I'm doing everything like, like on my own. Yeah. But he's extremely supportive. Yeah. That nobody did anything wrong. And I think people wanted that juice. And I'm like, honestly, we left our religion and we went into deep therapy to deconstruct. And we realized we did a lot of things for other people.
Yeah.
And we need to grow. And I don't know how to achieve the growth that we both individually need together. I mean, my growth was I was depending on him too much. I needed to be on my own savior. I needed to be uncomfortable alone. I need to be alone and be okay with that. This is probably private, but through our marriage, a lot of times he would say, you need me more than you want me. And I thought a lot about that. And I was like, unfortunately, because I was so emotionally damaged when I was younger, my needs were greater than my wants.
Wow.
And I needed someone to save me. And I loved him and I wanted him, but my needs were greater than my wants and I needed someone to save me. So I'm really trying to work on being my own savior and being my own. And it's hard. Like it's really uncomfortable. For the first time in my life, I have to heal. Like I have to self-soothe.
Yeah.
I can't rely on my family. I can't rely on, this guy that I was with forever to save me. It's me.
I think you bring up a valuable lesson as well. It's like you're betting on yourself.
Yeah.
And I think when you bet on yourself, it's uncomfortable.
It's so painful.
Like there's probably some minutes, hours, and days, and weeks, months.
Yeah.
Who knows how long the time frame needs to be or what it is.
Yeah.
Where you really just have to motivate yourself to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And I look back and I'm like, I'm so proud of myself because I'm coming to Austin once a month. I could never have done that. I started going on solo trips when we were starting to separate. I have never done any traveling alone, sleeping alone. I couldn't do it. I would have to call him. I would get anxiety at night and sleep. And here I am every month, like coming to Austin alone. And I'm like, it's hard to see your progress because it's still uncomfortable. But I'm like, damn, you're doing it. Okay.
Yeah. And that's like, I feel like I could be wrong, but it seems like part of your healing process is like podcasting too, and really doing that for yourself. Yes. So is that kind of what motivated you to get into podcasting?
Yeah. Originally, I've always my personality has just always been so big. Like I feel like there's something bigger. Like I needed to be out there to talk to people. I do hair.
Like we have two guests here because your personality is so big.
No, and I do hair and it's really fun and I interact with my guests. And then I started making like goofy reels on my Instagram and that brought me joy. But originally I started the podcast as like a creative outlet. I wanted to talk about, going through a divorce, people are so shitty. Like,
I'm sure.
People are so stupid. And actually, I'm like such a loving, like fun, kind person.
Going through a breakup, people are shitty. So a divorce, I can only imagine.
I hate people. And I hate saying that because it's like...
Because then again, you still love people.
Yeah, I guess. No, I just... I started it as a way to be like... like it's a cathartic healing experience. And I wanted to talk about like getting divorced and people and like, stop giving unsolicited advice. And then, in the dating world, I want to kind of niche down more into dating, but like life and funny.
Sure.
I don't know where it'll evolve, but I'm really excited and I want it to just keep going. And I'm just kind of giving myself grace to like let it evolve naturally and just.
Well, I'll kind of piggyback on your question to where I feel as if your podcast and like asking more about it, you're one of those podcasts where I listen to it and yours is like a journey.
Yeah, it is.
I'm hearing
and I think it's going to
journey.
Evolve. It's going to be very interesting to where it ends.
I wish the niche or niche was the answer was journey, right? Like if you could put like what type of podcast it was like journey.
Yeah, because people are like, what type of podcast? I'm like, we talk about healing. We have a little comedy. We have a little pop culture. We have dating. We have divorce. Like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's just life.
You know what I think it is, though? It's you.
Yeah, that's
what it is. It's authentically you. And that's what people are going to resonate with, And I think that's what's so cool about it. And, like, your experience is so good for people to hear because getting married so young, I'm sure you weren't even on dating apps ever before
never.
The divorce.
Never. I barely had any dating experience. I think I had like one little boyfriend in high school and it barely was anything.
Yeah.
So that's terrifying. Dating apps are wild. Like I don't even So I've been divorced for 2 years. I've been trying. I go, like we talked about it yesterday, like I go like ebb and flow. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm off of them. I don't want anything to do with them. I'm exhausted. I'm just like, catch me in the wild. Catch me in the wild, boys, please.
That's so
you heard it here first.
Catch me in the wild.
I think they're already trying to.
I'm receiving DMs as we are literally.
He got one DM, guys. But honestly, I'm open.
He's on it right now.
I'm open to all the DMs. Send it to Roger.
She is single, so.
I am single, yes.
It's different too, because usually Cass is like, hey, for anyone that's single, I'm here.
Yeah, holler at your girl. Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny. Well, have you been in a relationship with anyone since your divorce?
I dated, so I call it the bad pancake theory. I always say this. Have you guys heard about that?
No.
I feel like I know where you're going, but no.
So I feel like after a long-term relationship, so in a batch of pancakes, the first one is shit. It's literally like burned and whatever. And then the rest get like golden and fluffy. So I feel like you got to have your bad pancake. I did try to date a guy. I haven't had anyone that I would say is my boyfriend. I dated 2 guys maybe consistently, one for 2 months, one for a month.
Time?
No.
Look at you.
Yeah, I wish. Roger, no. That would be awesome. We also talked about I don't have a roster. I just am not that girl. I would rather just pour my energy into one person and then when it's done, move on. I've gone on lots of first dates, but they really haven't gone anywhere. I dated 2 guys like a little bit more consistently, but only for like a month or 2. And
I guess it's, you bring up, or we brought it up in our conversation with you, the difference of masculine and feminine energy. Mm-hmm. Do you feel as if men right now are too fragile to deal with versions of maybe you having kids or having an ex-husband?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Does that get in the way of your dating experience?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I had one guy that was like trying to flirt with me over DMs, and he I can kind of sniff out. I think because I'm a mom, and I do like younger guys, I do like them, but I'm also open if you're like hot and have young energy and you're older. But I like younger guys because I naturally have younger energy. I don't resonate with being 38. And this one guy was like trying to flirt with me. I also think there's like a MILF fantasy, which is like kind of fun on the ego, but at the same time, I'm like, listen, like at this point in my life, I want to date, like intentionally date. But yeah, he was like in my DMs, like hitting me up. And I'm like, if you want to take me on a date, then
I'm down. Yeah.
Great. But like this, whatever. And he goes, well, I have some reservations. I'm like, cool, hit me with them. He's like, I've never dated anyone with kids. And I'm like, that's fact. And that's valid.
Yeah.
I actually personally don't want to date someone with kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to blend families. I would rather marry someone who doesn't have a baby and give him a baby. Like that's just like, yeah. But I was really worried when I got, I was really worried when I got divorced because I was kind of like a little bitter. I'm like, damn, like I'm this age and like no one's gonna want to date me with 2 kids. And I also, yeah, it's a lot. I don't know.
No, I said that's a lie.
Oh, that's a lie. Yeah, I thought it was like, I don't know. It could impact my dating. I honestly things aren't really going anywhere. So yeah, but I don't know. My kids have a great dad. I'm not trying to be stepdaddy. I also am used to working, so I don't need anyone to come in and save me. So I'm just like, look, like, I don't know. It's tricky. Yeah, it probably does impact dating. I just don't really know about it.
Well, we were talking about this the other day. It's like, there's so many different timelines on women and what that looks like because, I'm 29. We talked about this. Like, people could be looking at me like, why is she single? Why hasn't she been anyone?
Yeah.
And then someone could contradict you. Oh, she has kids. It's like, who, the right person for us?
Totally.
Doesn't care.
They'll just, and if you get to know me, like, and then we just address it. I'm just like, there's no pressure. Like, let's just see if we vibe.
Yeah.
And then we can have kind of those conversations. Also, my kids are so freaking cool and easy. Like, they're not like in diapers,
Yeah.
And they're just so sweet. Like, they're good.
And are they, I think that's something too that comes up because I had a friend of mine that I grew up with who his parents were divorced, but very comfortable together. Like literally friends.
Yeah.
And so much so that his dad was the coach of our basketball team. My dad was the coach and his stepdad was the coach.
I love that.
So like they were all the coach in the same team.
That's so cool.
And all the kids on the team were like, this is weird for you, huh?
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It really wasn't.
I think that just requires an emotional maturity that I would love that.
For sure.
I'm also aware, like, obviously that's weird, but
are your kids comfortable with you dating?
I make jokes about it to try to ease it up. I haven't really I introduced the guy I dated for a couple months, but as a friend, and I don't know. I think they're more open to it.
Were they sniffing it out?
No, she bought it. Yeah, she was like, oh, cool. Like, you have a friend. They're very open to, like, they just don't really want like another dad. They're just like, oh, it's like a bonus friend.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. That's fair. But I don't know. I think we've done a really good job of like, we really haven't gone, like no one's really moved on. Like it's crazy, fast. We both have really tried to do healing. So they haven't really met anyone. I think they're open to it. I make jokes all the time. I even make jokes about dating aliens at this point. Honestly, when they confirmed like the aliens, I was like, ooh, daddy's home. Like dating pool.
They're probably hot, honestly.
If they're over 6 feet and healed, hit me up.
They probably
alien or not.
Honestly, maybe we should do it for the plot. So so I kept saying like she saw like a UFO in the sky, and I was like, oh, daddy's home.
And that's like big.
And she's like, stop, mom. I'm like,
kind of a normal thing out there in Nevada. Is that fair?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. Like alien talk.
Yeah, and like Area 51. Anyways, I was like, oh, that's your stepdaddy, baby. She didn't like that. She didn't think that was funny.
Do you call guys daddy?
Oh, I love it.
Me too.
Absolutely. I love calling a guy daddy. I will gladly.
That's like that submission energy, I think.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this because me and you are in our masculine and like I have a freaking career and all that. I want to submit to a man. I just haven't met a man that like is
worthy.
Yeah, and also that doesn't get intimidated by my success. Like I'm not trying to emasculate you. It's just like, I don't know.
Do you feel like men's egos are a little bit more fragile than women's?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I feel like they are. I feel like I've had a hard time dating that I feel like I've seen men be a little bit more fragile with their ego in my experience, or it's like they're needing their ego fed, and I haven't even met them in person. Yeah. So I'm like, how am I going to tell you you're so great, you're so hot, and like,
I miss you.
I miss you. Can't wait to see you. I'm like, you haven't even made the effort to meet up with me in person.
I have found, I think I'm going to start. So the most successful recent interactions with men in the relationship, they have not seen my Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point where so it's like on the dating apps, I'm off of them. But when I was on the dating apps, they'd be like, what's your Instagram? I'd give it to them. And then instantly, like, nothing happens. Yeah. And I thought a lot about that. And I don't know if I have no idea. But once guys see my Instagram, it's like, they don't ask me out. And my friend's like, oh, they're intimidated. And I'm like, if you got to know me, I am not intimidating in the slightest. I'm down to earth. Like, I don't get it. And I'm also kind of goofy on my Instagram. Yeah. So I don't know if like my personality is too much for them, or they just see that like, oh, she's like happy and independent. Like, is that fragile to their ego? I don't know.
Well, I think if they don't have the right intentions by you, and this is me as a guy, right?
Yeah.
If they don't have the right intentions by you, and you have a podcast, they're like, holy shit, she's going to out me on the podcast.
Yeah, and I did do a couple episodes. Yeah, I did do it. It was fucking awesome.
That could be scary for some people.
And I'm not trying to be the Taylor Swift of freaking, podcasts and trying to like blast guys. But I did talk about one time my first interaction with a man post-divorce. He had a broken penis.
Well, that sucks.
I mean, there is I know.
Like, what do you do?
Even my slutty friends were like, they haven't had the pleasure.
What do you do?
have.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I flew to New York to meet this guy that I met one time in Las Vegas. And I don't know what I was thinking. Anyways.
But like, why wouldn't he tell you in advance?
He told me the day after. It was freaking weird. I was so uncomfortable. It was just weird. And something was not right. And I was like, what the hell? And then the next day he's like, oh, babe, did you know that I broke my dick? And like with his British accent. And I was like, what? I can't believe I've even talking about this on the podcast. I did an episode about it, but I was like, what?
And he's like,
oh yeah. He goes, I went to Ibiza with the boys. And he's like, I was doing so many drugs and I couldn't get it up. So then I took a Viagra and then I had sex with this girl for 5 hours and then broke my dick. And I was like, what? And like, let me just give you this picture. Jenn Crowshaw, I grew up Mormon. I'm like, why am I with this guy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even drink, So I'm just like, what?
Is this the first guy post-divorce?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
and there's no other reason why that had to have.
I wish you would have seen my eyes. I'm listening. I'm like, what?
There's no other reason. It had to be for the plot or the podcast. Like, there's no other reason why that would happen. I'm like, what?
There's a level of divine timing with that one.
That's like, you think the grass is greener sometimes on the other
really
side.
Not.
Like one of my relationships, as soon as I got out of it, the first guy I hooked up with, he was so well endowed. And I was like, wow, I've been missing out. Not realizing not everyone is like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I just got lucky with the first one,
I do want to say
fair.
something. I don't want people to think like, oh, I got divorced and I think the grass is greener. I never, ever, ever was doing that so that the grass is greener. I don't think the grass is greener. I think the grass is green where you freaking water it.
And that's what I was going to say. It's like, you don't seem that way.
No.
But I think your point is so valid.
Yeah, absolutely. It's valid. But I didn't get divorced because I wanted to go party and have fun and whatever, experience that. But yeah, the grass is green where you water it.
And it's
I don't
tough.
know, maybe not the broken dick.
No,
I was going to say, that's not true with that guy.
That guy was trash garbage. The minute I left, I was like, block. I don't even know. And I was like, you know what? That's cool. That's for the plot. It had to have been. I don't know. That was crazy.
I'm like, you can throw some water on it, but I don't think it's going to fix it.
I'm like, take another Viagra.
Oh, no. Me and him, I was like, we're going to be cool friends this whole weekend. Like, we're not. And I wasn't in my villain era.
It went from hug to
I was like
you dap him up.
Yeah, I wasn't not in my villain era. I was so nice. This, if that happened now, I'd be like, pound sand, bro. I'm doing a solo trip in New York. We had 2 days left. So I was like, and luckily we had separate hotels. Thank goodness. But I was like, all right, so go home. I'll see you in the morning because we have some tourist things to hit. I was still I was so nice. Yeah. And I hung out with him the whole weekend, as friends, because I was like, this is freaking weird.
Yeah.
We didn't vibe at all. It was just I like how you said villain era though, because
for sure.
sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm in my villain era.
Good,
but
yeah.
I'm like, am I really in my villain era?
No.
Or am I just having boundaries?
It's boundaries.
For one?
You're not in your villain era. It's just you have boundaries.
Yeah.
I just was so nice that I was like, oh, that was uncomfortable. Okay, we're going to compartmentalize that. And we're going to, we have we have all these things that we need to hit.
Have ice if you need.
Well, it's nice that like you had your own hotel room.
Yeah. Thank goodness. That's if you're ever going to travel for like a person, you need your space. Like, I don't know, if things get weird.
You just don't know what you're walking in on.
And that was just a dumb judgment call, like on me. I think I was just like, oh, that would be fun.
No, at the same time, it's kind of smart. Like, because I know people that have met up with other people in another city.
Yeah, and like stayed.
And they stay with that person.
No.
Like, you made the right move.
Someone gentlemanly, if they can afford to and they want to see you, they should.
They absolutely should.
Yeah.
If you want me to come, which I'm also down, I like to come hang out, but I love to travel. But I have to have my own place.
That's like awesome. A mutual respect kind of situation.
That's like one of those learning moments for me where I'm like, if I ever am in that scenario,
you have to.
I would offer that.
Yeah, you need
smart.
to.
Yeah.
And it's just weird, like cohabiting, like. You gotta poop at some point. Like, it's too close. It's too close. Just like give me my own space.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm weird about like personal space. I don't know if you are, but like there's a guy I've been dating. He took me on 2 dates.
Okay.
And he's like trying to come over tonight and like hang out. Like he's like, I want to do something chill.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
well, we know what that means.
I know. But for me,
like, I know.
Cass is like,
For me, like literally, I feel like someone coming into my space is the same as them coming inside me because it's so like my personal bubble.
Good for you.
I would rather have them at my house though than going to their house because it makes me more comfortable.
You feel more safe. Okay.
Mm-hmm. More safe.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's so funny you both bring this up, right? Like you talk about what makes you feel safe. You talk about kind of like your limited or your just boundaries in general. Do you think you choose your partners the same way that you did before you were married or differently after divorce?
I feel like I'm very self-aware. I've done a lot of healing and inner work. There's still some childhood stuff that I'm trying to work through.
Yeah.
I have noticed that I'm attracting emotionally unavailable people, and that brings me to pause and wonder if I'm actually emotionally unavailable.
Oh, wow.
Or it's the universe being like, you still haven't healed some childhood wounds. You are not going to get people that are... sometimes I'm like, damn, I'm being like divinely protected because things are just not working out.
For sure.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not attracting... I'm aware. I don't want that. I can see it in partners, and I'm like, I'm not repeating cycles. I'm not going to do that. Good. Yeah, there's, I've come way too far to like settle or to be in the same situation. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, good.
But I am attracting weird, emotionally unavailable guys.
Yeah.
So if you're emotionally unavailable and you have...
Don't DM her.
No, DM me. I'll heal real fast.
They say that like who you're like dating sometimes is like a reflection of how you see yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had the same situation happen where I'm like, am I
loving ourselves?
I don't think so, because if you look at you and I feel like we're both women who do pour into ourselves
all the time.
So I don't think it's that we're not emotionally available.
I'm aware I have childhood wounds of wanting to be chosen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But it's very interesting. They don't have the same experience growing up as I do. I think I just was different. And so,
And you were the oldest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now as a parent, I realize you don't have a blueprint or manual.
No.
So.
But you were the lesson child.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to be chosen, and I find that, or I want to be fought for almost. Mm-hmm. And I realize where that's coming from. It's more of like an anxious attachment style because it's like a childhood wound. For sure. So I'm trying to be more secure.
I feel like that's kind of feminine, though.
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Because we don't want to be the pursuers. Like, we want a man to choose us.
You want to be courted.
Exactly.
I want to be courted. Yeah. But I do realize that, relationships are a mirror. So I'm like, okay, you really want a guy to choose you. You're not choosing yourself. So what does that look like? How can I turn inward and choose myself?
Yeah.
And I think that's...
still meet somebody.
Yeah, but I think right now it's like I'm still just trying to work on I choose you, Jen. I choose you. I'm trying to repeat to myself, I choose you. You're freaking awesome. Things like that. But I think they're a mirror, so.
I remember when I was a kid, I would always I was oddly introspective, and I would look at things just very differently.
Yeah.
And I would always look in have either of you seen those couples that walk around and you're like, okay, one person is blatantly attractive and the other person is blatantly not attractive.
I know. I never want to be in a couple like that. I want to be like, I want them to be like, damn.
And then sometimes
Barbie and Ken vibes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes
Power
I wonder,
couple vibes.
I'm
yeah.
like, is that person either that confident in themselves or is the other person that, do they lack confidence in themselves that much that they have to?
I think it's an energy. It's physical.
Yeah.
I think it's an energy thing.
I hear
yeah.
I hear you. That's kind of where I asked the question. I'm asking for
Well, it's almost like pretty privilege too, right? Like we don't choose these human flesh cells, right? Like,
for sure.
So it's like if you're attracted to someone's energy, like even Jenn's energy is so beautiful. Like you can just feel it.
Thank you.
It's radiant.
I had the last guy I dated. I learned a lot from him. He was more in his masculine. Our culturally were so different. It would have never worked out. But but I really appreciated that he was in his masculine. And one thing that he would compliment me on, and like, you know, like we would have sexy stuff, but like he would never compliment me over text on my body. He would always be like, I miss your energy. And that to me is like a top tier compliment. I want that. Like, I love that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
But I think it's an energy thing. And yeah, I mean, or I don't know.
It is fascinating though. Like if you'll see like someone like that's so attractive with someone that's kind of like average and you're like, how did you get them?
Yes.
But it's like everyone has different kind of thing. Like I could never be with someone I'm not physically attracted to, but maybe someone could, like, I don't know, like.
Yeah.
It's like something to ponder on. Cause like when I look at it, even from childhood to being an adult, sometimes I'm like, that's too much to think about. I don't want to look that way anymore.
Depends on what you're looking for. Like if I just wanted a husband, I could go get a husband.
Yeah.
If I wanted a soulmate with that sexual compatibility, it's different, right?
I also think like I try to give grace because like for me as a mom, like I'm a little bit insecure about like just my body will never be unless I have surgery to fix it, which I have had like my boobs fixed, which is great. But like my stomach, it's always a little bit, and I'm holding out because I don't want to have that. And like, I want to see how my life plays out. And if I get the opportunity to have a baby again, I'll do that and then get it fixed.
Oh, wow. That's smart.
Yeah. But
I'm sure that could offer complications.
I think it'd just get crazy. And but smart. It is like, I do get insecure because, you know, look, like I am ultimately a mom. I work so freaking hard. Like I always say, like moms or MILFs can never stay complacent because then they just become moms. Yeah. Which is fine. But I'm trying to work out my body. But no matter what, like I've had babies. So my skin's always going to be a little bit like, you know, on my stomach, which is fine. But yeah, I'm always like, okay, I would hope that you would give me grace. Like I work as hard as I can on my body. But at the same time, like I have had babies. I'm not going to be like a hot 24-year-old model, you know, or whatever.
Do you feel like because I feel this personally, like a competitiveness almost as I've started to age into my like later 20s a little bit. Yeah. I'm like, oh shit, like I can't keep up with these like 22-year-olds anymore. And it's like it's kind of a mind fuck.
It is.
Watching yourself age as a woman and then still be trying to date and find your person.
As a male too. It's like, it's real.
Roger, you're so pretty. I'm
like, Roger, it's so rude. How do you wake up in the morning? Like, it's kind of rude.
She knows I'm very ritualistic and routine. Yeah. But it's like a lot of things you're both bringing up where it's like that competitive spirit, I have that. Like, I'm very competitive. And then also the things I know I'm not going to have that same lusty look that I did when I was younger, but there's certain qualities and things that I can really focus on and put my energy into where I'm like, I can do something about
that lusty look.
I was gonna say I am a big fan of doing anything cosmetic that you want to.
Yeah.
I try to keep it really natural because I think whenever you pour into yourself, like the universe rewards you. Like, yeah, like if you want it, I'm a huge fan of Botox. I think it's amazing. Yeah. However, I will say I have an energy healer in Vegas and she's like, you know, you can talk back to that voice in your head, right? And I was like, what?
Don't fuck me up.
So now when I'm like, oh, I'm like this, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'll just be like really mean. And I'm like, stop it. Because I think like if you really go down that rabbit hole of like feeling that, like competitive, because we're going to age. It's like, yeah, stop it. Yeah. And I've been trying to catch myself like, no, because I think if you have that energy of like deep self-love, you're like, I'm confident in who I am and what I have to offer. Like, yeah, like the younger ones, but they don't have the wisdom of like, and the emotional intelligence, you know? Yeah. So it's like you do offer aging is good.
There's something
get some
sexy
Botox
about being a woman and not being a girl.
Exactly.
And like loving yourself a little bit more each year that comes with it.
Yeah.
And I think also it's hard embracing like woman's body compared to being a girl's body. So like you see these really hot young girls, but you're like, oh man, like you haven't kind of transitioned into that woman body. And that's a level of self-love and acceptance that you need.
But it shows up in other places in your life too.
Yeah.
That woman body is almost hotter though.
I would hope so. I mean, like, look, I got some curves. Like,
It's, I think as a guy, to offer the answer, I think there's a version to the answer where it's like, it's sadistic if you really do love and like focus your energy on that younger looking body and image. Versus like, hey, sometimes things happen where it's like you meet somebody, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Age gaps happen, right? But then there's a version of, yes, what you just said with self-love and what you talk about with the version of competition and just really working on yourself. When you see a mature woman in her power, that is, I mean, that's a thing of like radiant energy that you walk away and you don't forget.
Yeah.
So it's like you have an interaction with that person, and even if you don't interact with that person, you get a smell of their perfume or whatever it is. And when you come across that person, you don't forget.
Yeah.
So a woman in her power is a woman that is like, you control the game.
I like
the game
that.
doesn't control you.
But I will say as a woman, like we've been conditioned to hate ourselves, like by society.
Yeah.
So no matter even if we're in our power, we have to fight those voices because it's always going to come up.
The talking back is huge. Like I think that's...
Yeah, she finally was like, you know, you can actually talk back to that voice, right? And if you have to be so aggressive and be like, shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch. Like, I don't care what it is, but like it immediately is like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what's hard too about like being single and really sitting with yourself and your own thoughts.
It's hard,
You start being like self-aware of some of the negative shit that like comes up too.
But like as a woman, like we've been conditioned to hate ourselves, you know? I'm in the beauty industry too. It's like that, you know.
Which is tough. Yeah.
It is. So
it's almost like how many times a day does somebody say, hey, look at this picture, I want to look like this.
Yeah, and I'm like, what do you love about it? Because that girl is a size 0.
Yeah.
And she's 6 feet tall.
And all that's fake.
A model. Yeah. I'm like, I can give you extensions. Yeah. Like what, you know, I know. It's a little twisted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was one thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
If there's anything you could tell your younger self, like when you were in your 20s, like what would it be?
Even in my 20s, I feel like you are enough. Wow. You are enough. I think that's always been the theme. Like, you are enough. And just because you are different than your tribe does not make you crazy or not good enough. You were planted to shake things up. And sometimes that's an isolating journey, and that's okay. But you're going to make it, and it's going to be okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And then I guess I'll follow up with that on a question we like to ask all our guests. Like, what's the biggest misconception about you that you would love to offer clarity towards?
I look a certain way, but I am not that way.
Wow.
I think you would look at me and think like, I'm extremely down to earth. And I think it's because I grew up ugly. I don't know. No, I just, my personality is like a lot more like down to earth. I'm very warm. Maybe you can see that from my social media, but it's funny. Like, I just would have people like, oh, they think I'm a certain way, or like I'm like a rich housewife. I'm like, what? Like, no, I'm just like, no, not at all. Yeah. So I think maybe my looks, I don't know, maybe.
No, I mean, and it's a moment to, like, this is your stage.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a moment where you get to reflect back, and if somebody ever asks you the question in the future, you're like, hey, I was on In the Lobby, and
hell yeah,
go listen in on episode 8.
My favorite pod.
Well, it's interesting the like Instagram effect though too.
Yeah.
I've noticed it. People will judge you a certain way based on Instagram, and it's so annoying because if you didn't have that, they wouldn't judge you based on that anyway. Only the people that met you in person could perceive you. So there is this weird perception.
It's like a fetish though. Like, people like fetish over it.
Do they?
Yeah, there's guys that like love that shit.
Fetish over. It's almost like AI.
Yeah, like there's guys that fetish over
because you're not getting the real person. It's like those half naked girls on Instagram. Yeah. It's like, what? That's not even.
Okay, let's talk about that for 2 seconds. I think it's a huge red flag with a guy that I'm dating. I will look at who he's following on Instagram. Yeah. And if you're following like OnlyFans, and don't get me wrong, you do you. I love a good OnlyFans. I do lots of industry girls. Get it, girl. Get it, sis. I just don't want the guy I'm dating to follow a bunch of them, but I think it's a big red flag if they are following a bunch of these hot model girls.
I
don't disagree.
Big green flag if they have no social
Absolutely.
media at all.
Absolutely.
That's kind of unfair.
It's hard.
Unfair for me to say because I do have Instagram. And there's been people I've dated where if they were like, get rid of your social media entirely because we want to do this together, I would.
Oh, you would?
I would.
I would never.
Really?
Well, only because I think it's tied to our business. And I'm like, don't stifle my business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you look at my following, I'm not following a bunch of dudes. So I'm following creatives, I'm following hairstylists, like I'm following friends. Yeah, I follow some guys, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But
I just think
you and I aren't roster girls.
We're not roster. I'm a lover girl.
So
That's true.
I don't know what it looks like for the other women on there, but
there's some. I mean, for me, I know I've dated some people that do care heavily. Like they live and breathe.
Yeah.
Checking my followers, and then so much so where I was off for years, like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth the fight.
No, it's not.
But at the same time, I can agree with both of you where there's boundaries that are able to be respected, and there's things where it's like there's certain things that are uncalled for.
Totally.
You like things here and there, but like if you look at it as like there's 200 likes you're looking at, and if everyone is an OnlyFans girl or someone that this guy doesn't know, you like. Come on, dude.
Have a healthy balance of like equal men and equal women. That's cool.
Because I like stuff.
Of course, yeah.
I think we talked about this the other day. Like I will scroll and there's stuff I like. I'm like, you should probably not
do that.
Do that.
Just out of respect. Yeah.
Well,
and it's normal to think like girls are hot. Like it's normal to be in a relationship and think of the other sex. It's just, do you care about your relationship enough to have respect for that partner? And then you just make decisions based on that.
It's active.
Well, even in a friendship, when I first met Roger, he didn't have social media.
Yep.
And as a woman looking at a man like that, I was like, I respect the fact that this man is not. And I feel bad because I'm the one that pulled him. I was like, look, you need to be on Instagram or the podcast.
Yeah.
But there is something attractive about people who are not on social media.
Absolutely.
But it's also like we exchange messages, like we'll text and we'll DM, and we just always talk on various different communication platforms. And sometimes she'll message me so many great things on Instagram, and I literally don't check for days, hours, because I don't think to go on there.
I think that's a green flag.
I just don't. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'll text her back sometimes before I reply to a DM.
Well, that's why if you need them, you're like, text him. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But should we do our closeout?
Yeah. That's so funny.
Because
okay, I love this.
We definitely want our audience to come back. This has been an amazing episode.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me, you guys.
You are just radiant energy, great person.
Thank you.
Really mesh well with us.
Absolutely.
I feel like we've made a lifelong friend.
Yes, 100%.
Oh my gosh, I'm like, we're gonna. There's no doubt in my mind that we're gonna collaborate.
You're not a part of our network. You're a part of our cell
Literally,
phones.
yeah.
Literally, will be in a chat with us. Like, it's bigger than a network thing. Like, we are connected to you. We like you. I love it. You are just a good human. And I think the world should know that. And hopefully, this episode does that.
I hope so too.
And we want the rest of the audience to know to come back for our next episode.
In the lobby, baby.
In the lobby, because they know it's going down.
We should do another episode at the end of this year and see how Austin dating has been.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we always say this, and I think this is bad. I think I need to stop saying this, but where can people go to stalk you on social media?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I can't say the stalk thing, but it's
stalk me actually if you're hot.
Social media stalking. I think that's fair.
So my personal Instagram is Jenn Crowshaw Hair, JenNCroshaw. It's a personal and hair photos. I can't keep up. I can't separate things. So I just do a life and hair. That's my personal, but my podcast is Genn Z podcast, JENN podcast. I'm a 2N Jen. I have a theory on
I'm a 2N Jen.
It's one for nice and one for naughty.
Ooh, I love that. And what's so cool too is because we've done the collab, people will have this episode in the lobby, and then we'll have another episode
on Genn Z. Yeah.
There's a version of listen in here, listen in there.
Yes, it was so fun. Yes.
We're gonna get some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me, you guys. I adore you.
Yeah.
Both.
This is awesome.
This is just the beginning.
I love it.